If you are a good second shooter, that one second shooting opportunity can lead to dozens more down the road. So in this video, I'm going to teach you all about how to be an awesome second shooter. Hey there, my name is Sydney Kane and I'm a Shenandoah Valley wedding and portrait photographer, and in today's video I'm going to teach you all about how to be an awesome second shooter. If you want to get into the wedding photography world, the best way to do so is to become a second shooter. And if you missed last week's video about how to get second shooting opportunities, I would definitely go there first and start laying the foundation for everything we talked about. And in this week's video, I'm going to teach you what to do once you actually get those second shooting opportunities. So we're going to talk about what you should do before the wedding, at the wedding, and after the wedding, so that that photographer loves you to death and will hire you again and again, and will recommend your name to other photographers. So from my own experience of being both the second shooter and the primary shooter, the best way that you can build up your wedding photography portfolio, best way to get wedding experience, and best way to start getting your own clients is to be a good second shooter for your primaries. This will lead to so many more opportunities down the road, and you will create vendor relationships that will last for years. So when I say that being a second shooter needs to be your priority when you get the job, it needs to be your priority. Here are all the things you should do before a wedding to prepare you to be the best second shooter you can be. Number one, dress professionally. Ask the main photographer if they have a dress code that they want you to abide by, or if they have certain colors they want you to wear or not wear. You want to make sure that you're not dressed in the same color as the bridal party. You want to make sure that you are distinguishable as a vendor, but not so much that you'll fade behind the scenes or you'll think you're the guest. So normally for me, I tell my second shooters to dress business professionally. So this can mean a jumpsuit with nice flats, it can mean nice pants and a blouse, whatever is comfortable for them, because we will be on our feet for hours and we need to be able to move around. I say stick to blacks and natural, neutral colors, and try to stay away from really bold colors like pinks and purples and things that'll make you stand out in a crowd. We want to blend in while still looking professional. Next, you want to get all your camera gear charged and ready. Make sure you pack the night before. This includes cleaning all of your lenses, it includes charging all your batteries, formatting all your memory cards, and everything else that you need to do to prepare for your camera gear. So make sure that is all done the night before or way before you leave, so you're not struggling at the last second to charge a bunch of your batteries. There are also a bunch of other things that you need to bring for the day. For yourself, I suggest bringing lots of water and lots of snacks. The first wedding is definitely the hardest because you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. I'm telling you, you will be tired by the end of the day, you will be dehydrated, and you will be hungry, but you won't know it until you get home. So make sure you're bringing lots of water and food and snacks. You should be eating during every possible break throughout the day. So if you're ever in the car, eat. If you ever have 10 minutes downtown, make sure you're eating something. You want to have your energy up throughout the whole day. So make sure you're bringing lots of snacks and water. In addition to this, you want to have your own wedding emergency kit. So this can be tissues, it can be copies of everything your photographer gives you. It can be tied to glow sticks, it can be snacks for your bridal party. This can be wet wipes, hair ties, hairpins, anything else you can think of that you think might be needed throughout the day. Put it in a little bag and add it to your camera bag, and your photographer and your whole bridal party will love you for it. Next, before you even go to the wedding, you need to get your mentality straight. You need to know that you are there as a second shooter to be of service to your primary shooter. You are not there to boost your portfolio or have bragging rights. You are there to serve your photographer and to serve the couple for no other reasons. So you need to get that right in your head. You are there to help, not to boost yourself, okay? Get that in your head, and that will help save you for the rest of the day. You need to do that before you even get there. You were there to help, not to help yourself. I also want to say that it is abundantly clear when a second shooter is there for themselves and not for the photographer and the couple, because they are not listening to the photographer, they are getting whatever photos they want to get, and they are posting them everywhere afterwards. Do not do any of this. You are there to help your photographer and your couple. End of story. Once you're at the wedding, your main job is to do whatever the primary shooter tells you to do. Okay, whether it's photo related or anything else, you are doing whatever that main photographer tells you to do. If they hired you for a job, you're gonna do it, okay? So some of the things they might tell you to do is they might tell you to put on a certain lens or stand in a certain spot or get a certain angle or certain anything. Make sure you do it. Okay, some tips for success: make sure that you are getting photos that are different to your primary shooters. So for example, if I have a 35mm on, I want my second shooter to have either a 50 or an 85, have something different so that their photos look different to mine. I want my couples gallery to have as many unique photos as possible, so having a different focal length on your lenses will add greatly to that, and your main photographer will be really happy about that. Secondly, if I'm telling my second shooter that I'm going to shoot the kiss horizontally wide, I want my second shooter to shoot vertically cropped in, okay? So whatever your primary shooter is doing, do it differently. If you are in the getting ready room, make sure that you are always getting a different angle, you're getting different faces, you're getting different expressions. Make sure that you are staying out of your primary shooter's way. It is not good when you are always in the frame of your primary shooter's camera, because you're gonna be in all the photos and they don't want that. So make sure you are staying out of the way of the main photographer and that you are getting different angles. Now, if your primary shooter tells you to carry their gear or to go get something or to do something else, do it, okay? It doesn't matter if it's during the perfect portrait time and you really want to get these photos, but your primary shooter is telling you to run ahead and get candid photos. You do that, okay? Snap one last photo and then you are gone. You are doing whatever that photographer is. I'm telling you, sometimes I have my second shooters run back to my car because I forgot something, and when they bring it back, I'm like, you just went 10 points up in my head because you lost 10 minutes for taking photos, but you did this for me because I asked. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hire you again. So make sure you are doing things for your photographer that don't have to do with taking photos for them to have later. Make sure you are taking care of them too. Make sure you're making sure they get water and they're getting food, okay? Don't like over push your boundaries by making them sit down or anything like that. Just keep reminding them, so because sometimes we forget when we're on a roll and everything's happening. Make sure you're taking care of each other. Next, one thing that primary photographers absolutely love is when you get behind the scenes photos of us. I'm telling you, when I get my second shooter's photos back, if they have a few dozen photos of me throughout the day interacting with my couple and getting photos, I love them for it. It makes me so happy because I can use those photos forever. And so make your primary photographer's day by getting a bunch of behind the scenes photos of them. I know I try to do it for my second shooters, but it's not a priority for me throughout the day. So when I can, I know that I like to give them to them. Here are a few other things you should be doing outside taking photos. Number one, you should make sure that you're keeping an eye on the time and the timeline. If your photographer has given you a printed out timeline of the day, like I do for my seconds, make sure that you are keeping an eye on that. Don't be super pushy, but let the photographer know, say, hey, you know, we're a bit behind on this, like, just so you know. Don't like be annoying about it, but just try to be helpful. So make sure you're keeping an eye on the time and everything else, because sometimes your main photographer is really busy trying to talk to the couple and get the photo. So make sure that you are the one doing that, even if they are too. Next, more than likely, you're going to be helping with family formals. So I, as the main photographer, will try to give the family formals list to someone in the bridal party or someone who knows everyone there, because otherwise, so that it's a lot easier. But if not, I will give it to my second shooter, and it is my second shooter's job to make sure that the people who are in the photo are supposed to be there. If you are the second shooter and you have that family formals list, make sure you're going up to everyone that's there and supposed to be in photos and say, hey, you're going to be up next, getting them prepared and getting people in the photos. So family formals are a really hard time for the main photographers, so make sure you're doing everything you possibly can. If the family formals list is handed off to someone else, make sure you are getting candidates of everyone waiting around, because people are usually looking at the couple, they are usually talking with other family members, they're hugging, because it's normally right after the ceremony. So make sure you are getting several candidates, and you're getting side portraits of everyone else, and you're getting behind the scenes of your main photographer. So during family formals, you should not be sitting down. I did that my first time, and the main photographer was like, no, you got a bunch of things you could be doing right now. So don't make that mistake. Make sure you're doing something productive during family formals. The next thing you should be doing will make a big difference, and so you should be smiling throughout the entire day. I know it's gonna be hard, especially like on hour 8 when you're really tired and the smile is gonna feel really forced, but make sure that you are smiling throughout the day, because your main photographer will love it, but so will everyone else there. If people think you're having a great time and you enjoy your job, they're gonna be way more likely to recommend you to others, and they're gonna be way more likely to love the photos. I know that I've had people come up to me as the main photographer because I'm smiling all day and I'm laughing, and I really am having a great time, and people have told me that it really comes across. So make sure that you are smiling the whole time. Next, you are allowed to ask questions, but don't do it during the portrait time or during the ceremony or anything else like that. Make sure you are saving your questions for any downtime you have, like travel time or right before the ceremony and during the reception. So either when you guys are eating dinner or when it's dancing time, you don't have to be on all the time. So make sure that you are not asking questions throughout the day, because I do love answering questions, but it can be really distracting for the main photographer. So make sure you are saving your questions. You can write them down in your phone, or writing it down on a piece of paper, or just try to remember them and ask them later in the wedding or even afterwards. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of questions come up throughout the day, and the main photographer will hopefully help you out, but make sure you are not bombarding them with questions. And the last tip I have for you during the wedding is to make sure that you do not overshoot the reception. I know my first few times in the reception, it lasted like 2-3 hours, and I was thinking that I had to get photos the entire time. So I ended up taking hundreds of photos throughout the reception, and the photographers were like, no, like that is too many, because it's the same 20 people dancing. And so I had like hundreds of photos of the same 20 people dancing, and it was just way too much for the photographer to go through. So instead, what you should be doing throughout the reception is you should be walking around, you should be trying to talk to guests, you should be smiling, you should be taking photos like one every minute kind of a thing. So like, do not overshoot. I know it's really exciting, but especially for newer photographers, sometimes those photos don't come out really well because you might not be super comfortable with flash or low light. So make sure that you're not making your primary photographer go through hundreds of reception photos. So big tip there, but also let them know that you're going to be doing that, so they don't ask later like, why do I only have like 50 photos? Like, make sure you tell them. Hopefully they'll tell you that, because I tell my second shooters that, but it might not be clear. So overall, just have really good communication with your primary shooter throughout the day if you can. Okay, great job with the wedding. Here are my best tips for how to be a great second shooter after you go home. So number one, if your photographer tells you not to post the photos, do not post the photos. I tell my second shooters they can't post any of the photos until after the blog post comes out and after the full gallery has been delivered. So this can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, just depending on my own blogging calendar, but I expect that my second shooters abide by this, and I will reach out to my second shooters and let them know that it's okay to now post photos, but it might not always be clear. Next, either the night of the wedding once you get home or the next day, reach out to your primary photographer and thank them for bringing you along for the wedding. You can include any specific things that you learned from them or specific photos that you're really excited to go through. Show them how appreciative you are that they brought you along and gave you this opportunity. This is also a great time to ask any follow-up questions if you really wanted to. I would stick to a few so you're not like bombarding them again, right, just as they have hundreds of new photos they have to edit. So just make sure that you are being courteous of their time and really truly being appreciative of them. And lastly, once you actually are able to start sharing the photos, make sure that you always tag the main photographer. Don't do it in the actual photo on Instagram, do it in the caption. You know, have your own caption and then at the bottom say taken while second shooting for, and then tag them at the bottom. Otherwise it looks like it was your own wedding and you just don't want to even go down that road. Also make sure that you are not tagging any of the people who were there for the wedding, and this includes the couple, the guests, any vendors at all. I normally allow the location tag, but I wouldn't do any more because you don't want those vendors reposting your edits because you weren't the primary photographer. So whatever you do, try not to pass the wedding off as your own. If it's just big no-no, you don't want to go down that road, because not only will you burn bridges with the main photographer, but it will just look bad for other photographers too. So don't do that. But overall, my biggest tips for being an awesome second shooter is to, one, make sure that you understand that you are there to serve your photographer and your couple and not yourself. Number two, make sure you have open communication with your primary photographer throughout the day. You're doing everything they ask you to do and you're saving your questions for right moments. And three, you are being appreciative of that photographer for bringing you out, and you are following their rules and guidelines. If you do all of this and you take great photos and you're really supportive and helpful throughout the day, that photographer will remember you. They will more than likely hire you again, and they'll pass your name on to other photographers when they're looking for second shooters. So if you do really well at your first second shooting opportunity, it will lead to more. And if it doesn't, continue with those tips that I had in the last video and find other photographers that you might be able to second shoot for. Second shooting really opens up a world of possibilities into the wedding photography world, and it's such a great way to fill your extra weekends and to work with other vendors. I still second shoot all the time. Even when I'm fully booked for a season, sometimes I will take a few extra weekends as a second shooter because I don't have the pressure of being that main photographer, but I know I can support them in any way I can. It's also nice to get a little bit of extra money on the side. It also allows me to work with some of my favorite photographers in ways that we might not be able to otherwise. So that is how to be be an awesome second shooter. I hope these tips really helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to get jobs as a second shooter, make sure that you are watching that other video that I've already posted and learning all of those tips and playing the long game. If you like these tips, make sure you're checking out all the other videos I have, and as well as the blog post that goes along with this video to see more examples of what you can do. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more tips and you like this video in particular if it helped you. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.